Exodus chapter 12. Yahweh said to Moses and Aaron in Egypt, "This month must be the first of all the months for you, the first month of your year. Speak to the whole community of Israel and say, on the 10th day of this month each man must take an animal from the flock for his family, one animal for each household. If the household is too small for the animal, he must join with his neighbor nearest to his house, depending on the number of persons. When you choose the animal, you will take into account what each can eat. It must be an animal without blemish, a male 1 year old. You may choose it either from the sheep or from the goats. You must keep it till the 14th day of the month, when the whole assembly of the community of Israel will slaughter it at twilight. Some of the blood must then be taken and put on both doorposts and the lintel of the houses where it is eaten. That night, the flesh must be eaten, roasted over the fire. It must be eaten with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. Do not eat any of it raw or boiled in water, but roasted over the fire, with the head, feet and entrails. You must not leave any of it over till the morning. Whatever is left till morning you must burn. This is how you must eat it, with a belt round your waist, your sandals on your feet and your staff in your hand. You must eat it hurriedly. It is a Passover in Yahweh's honor. That night, I shall go through Egypt and strike down all the firstborn in Egypt, man and beast alike, and shall execute justice on all the gods of Egypt, I, Yahweh. The blood will be a sign for you on the houses where you are. When I see the blood I shall pass over you, and you will escape the destructive plague when I strike Egypt. This day must be commemorated by you, and you must keep it as a feast in Yahweh's honor. You must keep it as a feast day for all generations. This is a decree for all time. For 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. On the first day you must clean the leaven out of your houses, for anyone who eats leavened bread from the first to the 7th day must be outlawed from Israel. On the first day you must hold a sacred assembly, and on the 7th day a sacred assembly. On those days no work may be done. You will prepare only what each requires to eat. You must keep the feast of unleavened bread, because it was on that same day that I brought your armies out of Egypt. You will keep that day, generation after generation. This is a decree for all time. In the first month, from the evening of the 14th day until the evening of the 21st day, you must eat unleavened bread. For 7 days there may be no leaven in your houses, since anyone, either stranger or citizen of the country, who eats leavened bread will be outlawed from the community of Israel. You will eat nothing with leaven in it. Wherever you live, you will eat unleavened bread. Moses summoned all the elders of Israel and said to them, "Go and choose a lamb or kid for your families, and kill the Passover victim. Then take a bunch of hyssop, dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and with the blood from the basin touch the lintel and both doorposts. Then let none of you venture out of the house till morning. Then, when Yahweh goes through Egypt to strike it, and sees the blood on the lintel and on both doorposts, he will pass over the door and not allow the destroyer to enter your homes and strike. You will observe this as a decree binding you and your children for all time, and when you have entered the country which Yahweh will give you, as he has promised, you will observe this ritual. And when your children ask you, what does this ritual mean, you will tell them, it is the Passover sacrifice in honor of Yahweh, who passed over the houses of the Israelites in Egypt, and struck Egypt but spared our houses, and the people bowed in worship. The Israelites then went away and did as Yahweh had ordered Moses and Aaron. And at midnight Yahweh struck down all the firstborn in Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh, heir to his throne, to the firstborn of the prisoner in the dungeon, and the firstborn of all the livestock. Pharaoh and all his officials and all the Egyptians got up in the night, and there was great wailing in Egypt, for there was not a house without its dead. It was still dark when Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and said, "Up, leave my subjects, you and the Israelites, go and worship Yahweh as you have asked. And take your flocks and herds as you have asked, and go, and bless me too." The Egyptians urged the people on and hurried them out of the country because, they said, otherwise we shall all be dead. So the people carried off their dough still unleavened, their bowls wrapped in their cloaks, on their shoulders. The Israelites did as Moses had told them and asked the Egyptians for silver and golden jewelry, and clothing. Yahweh made the Egyptians so much impressed with the people that they gave them what they asked, so they despoiled the Egyptians. The Israelites left Ramesses for Succoth, about 600,000 on the march men, that is, not counting their families. A mixed crowd of people went with them, and flocks and herds, quantities of livestock. And with the dough which they had brought from Egypt they baked unleavened cakes, because the dough had not risen, since they had been driven out of Egypt without time to linger or to prepare food for themselves. The time that the Israelites spent in Egypt was 430 years. And on the very day the 430 years ended, all Yahweh's armies left Egypt. The night when Yahweh kept vigil to bring them out of Egypt must be kept as a vigil in honor of Yahweh by all Israelites, for all generations.